Welcome to Inteligencia Colectiva. I am your host, Misael Castro, and today's episode, we will have a different discussion. We will talk about AI from a different perspective. In previous episodes, we have talked about what AI can do, what AI cannot do, and we have also invited people, leaders, experts who have also shared with us their stories, best practices, and also inspiring stories that they lived when adopting AI. But today, we will talk about risk and challenges with AI. And I couldn't think of a better person that someone that is a system thinker, a transformation leader, and someone I deeply respect in the PM and AI community. She's Anna Echols. Anna, welcome to Inteligencia Colectiva.
Hi, Misael. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. And again, welcome to Inteligencia Colectiva. But for those who didn't catch you in the first appearance on the show, tell us who is Anna and what does AI enabled transformation actually mean in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I'm a part of the Project Management Institute. That's how I know Misael. So I
Yeah.
am part of the chapters here in Washington State and the United States. And I have my PMP, so that's my project management background. That's how we know each other. But
Exactly.
work-wise, I've been doing program management for about 5 years, and slowly I've been doing more and more transformation work. I've been a big part of the AI adoption the last 2 years at my work. And day to day, that just means helping people know how to use the tools, how to use them properly, correctly, but also just efficiently and make their lives better. That's what we're trying to do here with transformation work. And it's on that system scale, process improvement is fixing one little thing, maybe a big thing, but we're trying to look at the big picture with transformation.
Exactly. And we will talk further on that part, but I'd like to know, based on your experience, what industries have you seen the biggest AI transformation pressure?
Ooh, yeah, I feel like it's everywhere. I don't know how to answer that. It is still not being used in certain places, but if you are in a corporation, there is pressure to use it, pressure to like help use it in your work, and there's not as much teaching about how to use it.
Exactly, exactly. And I know you have experience in supply chain and you were working for DHL. And
Right.
uh, do you think in that environment they're pushing AI adoption differently, or how is that happening in supply chain industry?
Yeah, it's an interesting ask because uh, supply chain doesn't only mean supply chain. We have digitalization, we have robotics and automation, and part of DHL's message internally is to digitize, to be part of that digital revolution, and AI is a part of that. And I'm a part of the group at DHL that focuses on AI, and I believe there's 4,500 people in it. So it's actually
Wow.
quite a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know you were working on the high, I mean, a project with high visibility, and I cannot imagine how tough that was and how challenging that was. So you were you have been in both sides, leading AI adoption, but also someone adopting AI technology. So based on your experience, when did you first realize that AI also comes with real risk that professionals aren't prepared for it?
Yeah. Well, you mean aside from the first time I saw the Terminator movie, right?
Yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly.
and you're right. I've seen both sides of this, and I've often addressed risk in order to get in buy-in for adoption. And AI related, automation related. And AI risk is not just a technology problem. I see it as a human systems problem. So probably when I first realized the magnitude of this, it was when I moved from experimenting with AI myself to thinking about what could it mean to support adoption across the company. And that was back in 2024 with the previous company I was working with. I was speaking with the IT director about my adoption projects. And I
Right.
came to him with all these different questions, and the answers surprised me. And I realized he kept there, it was a layered type of risk that he was answering. So he was answering my questions with saying, yes, that's a security risk. I can answer that. Well, that's a company policy risk. That's a client policy risk. And realizing that there were many different type of risks here that we were talking about, and it wasn't just a single thing and just clear cut.
So, what was the reaction from leadership when you raised these concerns?
Yeah. There was a lot of skepticism, of course, a lot of fear, about the risk. And it took us showing with a small team who were using what we wanted to bring to the whole company and using it successfully and showing that we were doing this to, help people use it responsibly. It took doing all that to get buy-in. So leadership, of course, needs to be skeptical, but if you can show them that it's working and this is how you're going to do it, then they're pretty good at listening usually.
And I do believe that um, most of the AI teams or people who are involved in AI integration or deploying AI projects are people who usually comes from IT, and they have technology background, technical background, but since AI is totally different, I do believe that there are a lot of known unknowns, and a lot of a lot of hidden risk that they didn't actually knew existed, right?
Right, because if you're just thinking about it as that technology perspective, you're going to miss some of the other risks that you've brought up and hopefully we're going to be talking about shortly.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so today, we will talk about eight emerging risks. There are some more that we will not talk about. I mean, there are some that are very, very much known, like AI hallucinations. We will not talk about that one in today's session, but I want to bring the most, I would say, the most emerging ones that also affects not at the organizational level, but also at at the human level. And the first one I want to talk about, Anna, is human disempowerment. And we see this as the central risk. And do you see it interacting with other risk in a different way? You may want to share a little bit about what is human disempowerment risk, and and how you see it this interacting with other risk in if in a different way.
Yeah, I see human disempowerment as part of this reinforcing loop with cognitive offloading. Not simply at the top or at the center, it's in this loop that feeds itself. And when I say human disempowerment, we're talking about we're giving over our critical thinking, our human judgment, and letting something else do it, here AI. And then cognitive offloading is where we are no longer able to use our mind in that way. We're not able to use good judgment. We're not able to think critically. And so those feed each other. And then some of the other risks we'll be talking about, I feel like, are amplifiers of those things. They can make it worse, they can feed it. And basically, the more we hand over our thinking, it just becomes easier to hand over also our authority.
Definitely, definitely. And I have seen that, and probably you have a lot of experience using these AI models, but AI shape your thoughts and your ideas. Sometimes you have one idea, you input information, and you are, I mean, you are looking for something very specific, and you want something as the output to be. But somehow, when you start having this interaction with AI shape your thoughts and change your original idea. And you see, oh my God, this looks better, or maybe that changed your thoughts or shaped your thoughts. Do you see this as a risk?
Yeah, that is a risk. It's possibly a good thing, it's possibly a bad thing. It's something to be aware of. You
Right.
know, when we use it as a thinking partner to help us with making decisions or summarizing data, you know, whatever we're using it for, brainstorming, we don't want it to be the loudest first person in the room, essentially, the leader. It needs to be in tandem with what we're doing. So we need to start with shaping it, you know, shaping our own thoughts first and be
So
intentional about it.
exactly, intentional. And I heard that term intentional AI some time ago, and I thought to myself, well, this is the way we should do it every time we interact with AI. We should think about our, uh, you know, what we want to get, uh, being us to have the judgment and use our own agency. So I totally agree with you. And so for those teams that use AI very heavily, should pay attention to these behaviors. But as you mentioned, most importantly, to detect them, right, and how to mitigate when we see that this is becoming you know a more frequent behavior during the interaction with AI. So very thank you, Anna, for your insights on this part. I think it's a very important one. Let's move on to the next risk. We will talk about sycophancy. So we know that the tendency of AI models to agree with those and tell us what we want to hear. And some people say like a yes machine. And I know you, Anna, have worked on very highly regulated environments and where accuracy it's not negotiable. So how dangerous is this risk in compliance or QA context?
Right. It's a really severe risk in that way in compliance and quality. Humans like to hear answers that they're looking for, what they want, and they don't like to hear the answers they don't want. So in compliance, the right answer is often the inconvenient one. It's the one we don't want to be hearing. And that's why sycophancy is especially risky in that sort of regulated environment. And AI gives us the answer we hoped for a lot of times instead of the answer that's true. And that's where we can miss something important. Um, and so we always have to check our sources, check our facts, make sure that we're actually speaking from authority, from accuracy.
Right, exactly. So is sycophancy a prompt engineering problem or a user training problem?
It's a really great question. It kind of goes hand in hand. So if we know words that we can use, if we're using an LLM, for example, that's where sycophancy really shows up, right? If we're using an LLM like ChatGPT, Claude, and we are telling it what to say to us. We're prompting it. We can use words like be direct, no fluff, honest answer,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
tell it what, how to respond. And then user training helps with that. It's going to train, if you have training in prompting, then you're going to know this. You're going to know to put into your profile that's the sort of response that you're looking for.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of specific guardrails that we can put in place when using AI, especially for sensitive work, for example, or accuracy work?
Yeah, there's so many guardrails we can talk about. The guardrail I just mentioned, if you're using an LLM, there's usually a profile. Now there's Claude, there's co-work, and you can have in projects, you can have sources, and that's where you can have some guardrails of this is what I'm looking for, or this is the source material, here's my voice, my perspective, and that's an easy guardrail. It really depends on what sort of projects we're talking about, right? What AI we're talking about, because there are many different kinds. I would say one that we all use is we're using it for drafting information, right? So just review before you take action. So look at the email before you hit send. Make sure that you're reviewing your reports on data, anything that's summarizing, but we now record things and summarize key points from meetings. Just review it, make sure it's accurate. And so it doesn't have to be
Exactly.
complicated. You can just pause at the right moment. Go ahead.
No, yeah, and there is a quick shortcut that I use when I notice this. I tell AI, "Hey, don't be sugarcoat," or remember,
Yeah.
don't be sugarcoat. No? And they say, "Oops, yes," and then it gives you a different answer, or give me from a different perspective, or critique my idea, challenge my idea, something like that. No? But yeah, when I gave "don't be sugarcoat," it immediately I get different response.
Yeah, I
It's a
love that. That's
shortcut that I
perfect.
use. Well, yeah. So yeah, it's. I heard that sycophancy is even um, more dangerous than AI hallucination, based on what I have heard.
Yeah.
Right, that I know that people that actually use AI a lot actually, after a certain period of time, they are, uh, I mean, their mental health is not good at all, no? Because it affects also the mental health.
Yeah, you're in an echo chamber at that point, and you aren't thinking critically. You don't have different perspectives around you if that's what you're hearing. And this is a problem not just in AI, we know that. So if you watch news that's only your perspective, you're not going to see the other perspectives.
Absolutely.
So it is a problem, not just in AI, but yes, definitely in AI.
Well, I mean, AI is something that I love, not because all I can do, but also the way it makes humans to think, learn differently, and see the life in a different way. Probably reflect more than we used to in the past. So this is something that I like from this technology, and now I read more and I try to reflect more and see the things from different perspective. And well, well, we can talk more on this, I know, but we don't have so much time. So let's move on to another one that I know it's very interesting, risk number three, and this is more related about delusional spiral. And this is when AI basically creates creates a false reality, and then the humans believes that this is true, and then AI creates another false reality and another false reality and a lot of false assumptions that finally ended in AI generated information that is not true, but we believe is true. So in program management, you have led programs and huge programs at large scales and probably worth more than 175 million. What does this looks like at scale, and how will a PM even detect it or help his team to detect this?
When this is something I've seen over and over, when programs scale, the problems and issues are going to scale and become more visible. I had a program where twice, just separate from 2 years, we scaled it 10 times. And then 2 years later, we scaled it another 10 times. And those smaller problems got bigger, and then they got really big. And that's how it is with delusional spiral. So if you're going to have delusional spiral, it's going to get out of control and have that larger impact on more people, bigger data sets, more important
Exactly.
decision making. So what I recommend to fellow project managers, program managers, whoever's listening, to think about your work culture, think about your team culture, and try to have diverse perspectives and that sense of psychological safety. That's when people are going to feel safe. They can speak up and ask questions. They can speak up and say, hey, I saw something that I'm not sure it looks right. And that's going
Exactly.
to be your warning system.
Definitely. So is this what is this more dangerous in the creative side or in the analytical side?
Hmm. I mean, I would probably say it's more dangerous than the analytical side. It's of course a
Yeah,
danger everywhere, more on the analytical because
exactly.
we make decisions based on data.
Exactly.
And that's going to not go well if your data is wrong, if you're going off of incorrect data. What do you
Yeah.
think? Do you
No,
think it's more
absolutely.
creative or
No, I mean, if it is creative, it's fine. I mean, it's we're just thinking. I do. This makes me remember something that in some AI models, in Google Studio, and I think also in 11 Labs, AI models, you had that ability to move the needle of the temperature, meaning that how creative you want the model or how much hallucination you want the model to be. At
yeah.
that moment, this term of delusional spiral was not very common. And, on that side, I would say it is good at a certain point, but definitely in the analytical side, it has to be accurate information. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. So, yeah, I totally agree with you, Anna. So,
And
yeah, go
if
ahead.
someone's listening and they have a different opinion, please comment below.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to hear different perspectives. We don't want just machines or hip or sycophancy behavior. Yeah, thank you for bringing that, Anna. Okay, now let's move on to the next one, which is about automation bias and over reliance. I know you have been working on a lot of automations. Uh, I know that uh, you did even more than 200 automation workflows across many locations in your company. At what point does automation becomes or become a liability, and what is the line between smart automation and dangerous over reliance?
It becomes a liability when you just remove the human oversight. I think that's the point that you need to watch for. And there are many different types of automation, but the smart automation always is going to start with questions. Why are we doing this? Who's going to use it? Who's going to maintain it? What are our checkpoints? And when you stop thinking about how it's going to benefit humans and how the humans are going to review and validate it, then that's where you've crossed over the line, in my opinion.
definitely. Uh, 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 I mean, you have to think about what can be automated, what cannot be automated. But is there a workflow that, in your experience, you decided not to automate? And if so, please tell us why.
Hmm, that's a
You-
really great question. So what I can say is that there was a dashboard that was going to the executive leadership, and I wanted to look at it every week before it went to their Monday weekly meeting, and they were going to make decisions based off of it, right? Or say, oh, yep, looks fine. We don't have to ask more questions. I wanted to look at it. I wasn't going to just send it automatically to those people at the top. That was my checkpoint of I'm not going to automate this. And, there were some things automated in there, but then some things I said, I want to come in and manually change these every single week as well. So,
exactly, and
yeah, the
hear you.
more critical the audit, whatever it is, decision making, accountability, the less maybe you want to automate it.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that was what I was about to ask, because we know that not everything can be automated, right? And I think leaders must set the guardrails, and they must also be on top and see, okay, this is what should be automated, and this is what should be human. Uh, this is what a human should do. This is what a human. This is where the human in the loop should be, and so on. So yeah, definitely. And I do see that in automation sometimes there are bias, and we should also. I think that probably will bring a risk, but I'm not. I don't have much experience on speaking in automation, but I will say that there's a risk by doing or over reliance on automation, right?
Yeah, I'd say, right. You don't want to over rely on it. Your goal is going to be reduce friction, reduce human error, but you're not trying to remove accountability. You're not trying to let it make decisions for you, things like that.
Exactly, exactly. And we will we know that this is more probably a broader risk, deepfakes and social engineering, and in supply chains probably are the prime targets for social engineering. Uh, Probably fake invoices, spoof vendors, fabricated compliance documents. With AI now making defects actually trivially easy, how do you think about trust and verification in your operational environment?
Yeah, it's becoming easier. It's not like it's new to us. We've had for years training on phishing and spam and all of that. So it's not new, but it has gotten easier, right? It's means that we already have verification in place. We already have approval processes, and we want to, even before now, regularly review them, make sure that they're keeping up with the times, with the modernization that's happening. But now we really need to review them. So we may need to review them more often. Um, those those processes may need to improve as the quality of those fakes get better. And the
Definitely.
best thing is our best fail-safe is human intuition, right? It's our critical thinking, that intuition of this doesn't seem right. Why is he pushing so hard to get this? Whatever
Exactly.
doesn't seem normal pattern. That's what's going to help us as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And do you think that because all this that is happening is the death of trust in the era of AI?
I actually want you to explain that a little bit more to me. You said the death of trust, is that right?
Yeah, do you think that because all of this that is happening is is discussing the death of trust?
Yeah,
And
I think
yeah,
it is undermining trust. Humans are not trusting technology. We're fearful of what's going to happen, and it undermines in different ways. So it undermines maybe our ability to do things well. It undermines our how we perceive technology and how we can trust the people around us if we're thinking they're all deep fakes.
yeah. So now it's hard to trust, right? So yeah, it's sad, but it's there. Now let's move on to the next risk, and this is related to shadow IT. Probably a lot of IT folks know more about shadow IT risk. And, in the past, we used to use a lot of applications that were not actually approved by IT departments and the organizations. But we used to use it for our own purpose and to be more effective and to do the work easier. Now we live in the era of AI, and now there's a similar risk, shadow AI. Anna, can you tell us about what is shadow AI? And as someone who has led AI adoption across large, complex environments, how real is this risk and what does it actually cost to organizations?
Yeah, I think you already described AI pretty well. And that's where we're using AI on our personal computers, outside of the approved technology at our workspace. And it's very real. We know it's happening. As far as I know, we're not sure exactly how much. It's hard to track that kind of thing. I see it as the signal that the official path is just really not meeting our needs. So the obvious risk here, you were asking about the risk for the organization.
Yeah.
You can talk about intellectual property and privacy, confidential information, but the bigger risk in my mind, I mean, it's all a risk, but something that we're not talking about and not as focused on is that invisibility. It's basically if people are using AI outside of those approved tools, you can't guide it, you can't secure it, you can't support it and train people on it and learn from what they're doing. And so that invisible part of it to me is a real risk.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I there's something in urban planning called paths of desire or desire path, and that's where someone's cut through off the sidewalk and they're on the dirt instead of taking the sidewalk, but it's because they're showing you they're going directly to this path over here. And that's how I'm seeing it. It's showing where people are trying to solve those real problems, and they're that official system to them, whether that's true or not, is too slow or not what they want. And so they do the workaround. So what's the answer? It's to, yeah, like see where that friction is, see what the invisible path is, and try to make it safer, the approved path, safer and easier and more useful so that they're going to want to use it over the workaround.
Yeah,
Now, is that
definitely.
easy? No.
Yeah, yeah. And I know it's also a security challenge for organizations, no? Uh, I'm sure the cybersecurity team or the red teams are challenges to block this traffic when employees are using other non-approved tools and they try to upload sensitive data, no, to these LLMs and probably I know there are some developments that are already happening out there, but sometimes it's quite complicated or difficult for them to block the access or blocking employees to upload sensitive information to these LLMs. Because once they upload it, it's now in the hands of these big AI companies, and they use it to train, and it's exposed to the public, and it's very risky. So
Yeah.
It's very challenging. So, how do you build an AI governance policy that employees actually follow without killing their productivity? Then,
Um, well, one thing you can do is allow people to suggest tools that they don't currently have. You make sure that they have training. That's part of the governance, hopefully, that you're doing so that they know what tools are there and how to best use them. But if there's still a gap, they're still missing something, there needs to be some way that they can speak up and say, why don't we trial this, experiment it, see if it works, and if it works, bring it to the whole company. Um, so that should be part of the governance. In my mind, people, this is what I saw over and over with the AI adoption that I've been doing, is people don't start with governance. They may end up there, but first, lead them with curiosity and experimenting it, taking on ownership. And then they're going to start feeling responsible. And finally, they're going to buy into that governance that you want them to be doing.
yeah, unfortunately, sometimes they are the last that are involved in the process. Yeah, you're right. I have seen that. So yeah, now let's move on to the next risk. And you know, by using AI models, using the same prompts and so on, even the same approaches, because I know that companies, departments are already building prompt templates that they distribute about organizations or among departments. So this is causing kind of homogenization and probably killing diversity, right? So Anna, as you as being someone building AI adoption framework, how do you design against these homogenizations?
Well, first, I don't think it's inevitable, but it is absolutely a risk. And I take two approaches with this. First, I try to set up the tool so that it's customized. So whatever it is, often companies are using LLMs, hopefully. And so you're going to upload documents, like I mentioned earlier, that are going to be customizing it for you or setting up your profile, something like that. That's going to help so that it's speaking as much as possible from your voice, your perspective. But second, we've already talked about this, where we have to be mindful, intentional about our AI use. And so homogenization, I think, is going to happen if we let AI take that lead and be too early in the process. So intentional about where it shows up in the process is going to allow the rest of the voices, the rest of the humans to speak. So yeah, I'd say use it as that additional voice in the room and just not the leader of the room.
Exactly, exactly. And we as project managers want to we want different perspectives. We want sometimes the team to debate. We want positive conflicts, no, different
Right.
ideas, and that creates magic, no, in the team. And I think that, as you mentioned, being intentional, it's very important. So I like that. And we already talked a little bit about cognitive offload, but this is the last risk we will talk about today. And excuse me, I would like you to tell us more about cognitive overload and what is the risk that this brings to project managers, and how should we tackle this part to, don't affect our critical thinking and our problem solving skills.
Yeah, I think we should be very worried about this risk. And it's slowly eroding our ability, our willingness to learn, to think independently, because we're letting AI take over that mental work for us. And so if you you asked how can project managers prevent that? Is that was your question?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how worried should we be as project managers?
Yeah, and basically, trust in human judgment, our own ideas, and use it as that thinking partner. The risk that worries me most is not that AI is becoming too smart. It's that we're becoming too willing to stop thinking. So project managers need to encourage their team to think. They need to think themselves and, form your own point of view before you're asking AI to step in.
Yeah, definitely. And I have seen the power of AI doing a lot
Yeah.
of the work for you. I mean, I have been using Cloud co-work in the last few weeks, and I do see the potential of the Cloud co-work. And I learned that we should lead AI, not follow AI, and we should develop our judgment, good critical thinking. And actually, I learned that there are different. We should foster the different critical, the different thinkings. No, as yourself, like system thinking, critical thinking, strategic thinking, and all its variations of thinking. So I do believe that outsourcing our cognitive skills to AI really will affect to the long term. And do you think that this will make PMs lazy?
I think we're actually working harder now because it's taking some of that administrative burden off of us. I used it just the other day. My husband is working on a project where he's rebuilding something. And I was like, oh, let me do a projects plan for you because you're trying to keep 100 things in your head. And so we did that. And I used PMI Infinity to use it. It was great. So that's actually helping lift that, administrative task from our brains and all the long checklists that we keep in there and so forth. And that gives us room to then do more and think more and take on bigger things. So I was able to do a lot of other things that same day.
Awesome. So you have maybe 2 hour free now with
Right.
AI that yeah that you can think on other things, do other uh, strategic or more valuable tasks that can bring on your project. And this made me remember something. I mean, I will do a quick parenthesis. When I was studying my PMP certification, there was like a checklist of the things that you should not do as your project as a PMP certified project manager, right? And they listed a lot of things, and now I do see. I don't recall all those, no, but what I can tell is that between them, there are a lot of tasks that we should not invest, and now AI can do those work for us, and it is good because in the past we used to focus on things that didn't give any value, and we as project managers spend a lot of hours, and that caused us burnout, right? And now with AI, we can, delegate all those tedious, repetitive tasks and even release workload and avoid burnout at a certain point.
Right.
So,
Right.
but as you said, we should be intentional, right? When we use AI.
We should. I'm not so worried about project managers, though. Something I see consistently across the board is that we're growth minded. So we're always learning something. I don't know how many managers I've talked to who say, I'm learning a language, and they're always doing something like that and learning.
Definitely, definitely. So we are almost getting to the end of our episode, but I know, Anna, you are in the middle of building an AI adoption framework. Can you tell us about your framework? I mean, you want to share with your audience maybe a sneak peek of what it is about, and probably if you are considering some kind of measurements to tackle the emerging risk?
Yeah, I took basically what I've been doing the last 2 years related to AI adoption and just really spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I started from the human level. So I'm working from the bottom up. So I'm starting with observing and identifying behavior and friction. So that bottom up approach, it's supposed to complement the other frameworks that are out there already, not replace them necessarily. So most of
Right.
them seem to be a leadership approach, top down. And
Right.
that's where we were talking about starting with governance instead of ending up there. So you're just coming at it from different directions. And my intention is to see start with humans, and that's going to be more success in your projects, in your adoption projects, and it's going to last longer, hopefully, if you think about the humans involved. Now, if I'm thinking about risks, that's something I actually haven't fully developed in my framework other than where we end up with governance. So I already told you about starting with, curiosity, ending up with governance, right? So I'll have to think about that. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, definitely. And I like that approach of starting from the human side for individuals, uh, because I know that most of the time they are the catalyzers of this transformation and adoption of AI. Because I know that AI adoption is not only about AI engineers, technical skills, it's human uh, and then in people's based skills, and we know that the companies are moved by people, and projects are executed by people. So everything is around people. So I like your approach, definitely, definitely. And well, I mean, later you share with us your contact where people can reach out to you, and then maybe they want to have a chat with you and see, and they may want to know more about your framework. So let's leave that for the final part. But I, for project managers, transformation leaders, and GNC professionals watching today, Anna, what is the one mindset shift they need to make right now to stay ahead of this risk?
So you used a word earlier that I really like, so I'm going to use it here, and that's to not outsource your judgment. And so use AI, learn it, experiment with it. It is so much fun. I love it. But also keep practicing those human skills in tandem. And that's going to make your judgment valuable. So that's your intuition, your critical thinking, our creativity, and our empathy, also our accountability. And that's what makes us human.
Definitely, definitely. So this really has been a mind-expanding conversation, and probably philosophical, quite kind of conversation too. So thank you very much, Anna. It has been a pleasure to have you in the show, and we have learned a lot from you. Thanks for sharing your expertise, your experience, and we look forward to have you in the future for future episodes. And before we close, what are your final thoughts, and where can people follow your work and reach out to you for more information about your framework when you launch it?
My final thoughts are thank you for having me here for this conversation. I feel like we need this sort of discussion. We need to be talking about the risks, just everything about this, because then we're going to be able to actually shape AI, not have it shape us, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, anyone who's watching. I'm always happy to talk about this or whatever topic. And I also have a website, anna-echols.com. You can reach out to me there as well.
I will add that information into the description of this episode. And thank you all for watching this episode. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next episode. Thank you all. Bye bye. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Okay, let me stop recording. Stop recording. So it was